The rain had been falling steadily since late afternoon, leaving the city streets shimmering beneath the glow of countless lights. Ethan Parker carefully parked his old pickup truck behind the luxurious Grand Monarch Hotel, a place he had only ever seen from the outside. Tonight, however, he wasn't there as a guest. He had been called in for an emergency electrical repair just hours before one of the city's most prestigious charity galas. Ethan was a hard-working single father who had spent the last 6 years raising his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, after losing his wife, Sarah, to cancer. Every decision he made revolved around giving Lily a stable and happy life. Expensive vacations, fancy clothes, and luxury cars had never been part of their world. Love, honesty, and determination were the things Ethan could always afford. Since Lily's babysitter had cancelled at the last minute, Ethan had no choice but to bring her along. She sat quietly in the hotel lobby with a coloring book while her father disappeared into the maintenance corridors carrying his toolbox. The hotel's event manager anxiously greeted him. "Mr. Parker, thank goodness you're here," she said. "The ballroom's lighting system keeps shutting down. We have less than an hour before hundreds of guests arrive." "I'll do everything I can," Ethan replied calmly. He climbed ladders, checked wiring panels, and replaced a damaged control module. Sweat formed on his forehead despite the cool air conditioning. Years of experience had taught him never to panic under pressure. 45 minutes later, the massive crystal chandeliers suddenly burst into perfect light. The ballroom sparkled brilliantly. "You saved the evening," the manager exclaimed with relief. As a token of appreciation, she handed Ethan 2 passes to remain during the gala after finishing his work. "You've earned it," she smiled. "Enjoy the evening with your daughter." At first Ethan refused. "We really don't belong at an event like this." But Lily's excited eyes convinced him otherwise. "Please, Daddy? I've never seen a real ballroom before." Unable to say no, Ethan cleaned his hands, borrowed a simple suit jacket from the hotel's lost and found department, and helped Lily into the neat blue dress she always wore for special occasions. As they stepped into the magnificent ballroom, Lily gasped. "It's like a fairy tale," she whispered. Guests wearing designer gowns and custom-made tuxedos filled the room. Business leaders, celebrities, politicians, and journalists laughed together beneath enormous crystal chandeliers. Ethan suddenly felt out of place. Then the room grew quiet. The grand entrance doors slowly opened. Everyone turned toward the woman entering the ballroom. It was Isabella Carter, the billionaire entrepreneur hosting the charity gala. Elegant, confident, and admired by everyone around her, she walked through the crowd with effortless grace. Ethan glanced at her for only a moment. But that single glance would soon change both of their lives forever. The ballroom seemed to pause as Isabella Carter made her entrance. Camera flashes lit up the room while reporters called out her name. Dressed in an elegant black gown with subtle diamond earrings, she carried herself with the calm confidence of someone who had spent years in the public eye. Every guest wanted a moment of her attention, hoping for a handshake, a photograph, or a chance to discuss business. Ethan watched quietly from the edge of the room, holding a glass of water while Lily admired the decorations. Unlike everyone else, he wasn't interested in Isabella's wealth or status. There was something about the gentle expression in her eyes that reminded him of Sarah, his late wife. It wasn't her appearance exactly, it was the kindness hidden behind a smile that seemed practiced for the cameras. Lily tugged at her father's sleeve. "Daddy, why does everyone keep looking at that lady?" "They respect what she's built," Ethan replied. "But remember, sweetheart, she's a person just like everyone else." Nearby, Isabella had just finished another interview. She thanked the reporter politely, but inside she felt exhausted. For years, people had admired her success while rarely seeing the lonely woman behind the headlines. Every conversation seemed to revolve around money, investments, or influence. As she scanned the room, one face stood out. A man in a simple borrowed suit stood beside a little girl in a blue dress. He wasn't trying to get closer to her or attract attention. In fact, when their eyes met, he looked away respectfully and focused on helping Lily choose a dessert from the buffet. Curious, Isabella excused herself from a group of executives. Several guests watched in surprise as she walked directly toward Ethan. Whispers spread across the ballroom. Who is he? Does she know him? Maybe he's an important investor. Ethan looked up as Isabella stopped in front of him. For a brief moment, neither of them spoke. Then Isabella leaned slightly closer and quietly whispered, "You're the first person here tonight who looked at me like I was simply another human being." Ethan blinked, caught off guard. "I'm sorry if I stared," he said with an embarrassed smile. "You reminded me of someone I loved very much." The words carried no hidden motive, no attempt to impress her. Only honesty. For the first time that evening, Isabella's carefully rehearsed public smile disappeared. A softer, more genuine expression replaced it. "I'm sorry for your loss," she replied gently. Before Ethan could answer, Lily stepped forward with innocent curiosity. "Hi," she said brightly. "I'm Lily. My daddy fixed all the lights before everyone came." Isabella laughed warmly. "So you're the reason tonight's event could happen?" Ethan rubbed the back of his neck. "I was just doing my job." "No," Isabella said, smiling. "Sometimes the people doing the quietest jobs make the biggest difference." Neither of them realized that this unexpected conversation was being noticed by nearly everyone in the ballroom and that it was about to spark a chain of events that none of them could have imagined. The quiet conversation between Ethan and Isabella quickly became the center of attention. Across the ballroom, guests exchanged curious glances. Some whispered to one another, trying to figure out who the modest man in the borrowed suit could possibly be. "Do you know him?" one executive asked. "I've never seen him before," another replied. "Yet she's been talking to him longer than anyone else tonight." Isabella paid no attention to the whispers. For the first time in years, she felt she was having a real conversation instead of another carefully planned public interaction. She looked down at Lily, who was happily holding a small plate with a slice of chocolate cake. "Are you enjoying the party?" Isabella asked. Lily nodded enthusiastically. "It's the prettiest place I've ever seen. Daddy almost didn't let me come because he said we didn't belong here." Isabella looked at Ethan. "And why did you think that?" Ethan smiled politely. "People like me usually fix places like this. We don't attend events in them." She shook her head. "I don't believe a person's value depends on the clothes they wear or the number in their bank account." Before Ethan could respond, the host announced that the evening's charity auction would begin in a few minutes. Guests slowly gathered around the stage, where priceless artwork, rare collectibles, and luxury vacation packages would be auctioned to raise money for children's hospitals. Isabella turned back to Ethan. "Would you and Lily sit with me during the auction?" His eyes widened. "I couldn't possibly do that." "Why not?" "I'd only make people uncomfortable." She smiled gently. "The people who are uncomfortable can choose another seat." Lily looked up hopefully. "Please, Daddy?" After a brief hesitation, Ethan agreed. As they walked toward the front table beside Isabella, dozens of cameras turned in their direction. Reporters immediately began taking photographs, assuming Ethan must be a secret business partner or an important donor. The whispers grew louder. "Who is he? Is Isabella introducing a new investor? No, look at his hands. They're rough. He works with them." Ignoring the speculation, Isabella introduced Ethan and Lily to several members of her foundation. Unlike many wealthy guests, Ethan spoke naturally and never tried to impress anyone. He simply answered questions honestly and treated everyone with quiet respect. One elderly board member noticed the way Lily proudly held her father's hand. "You've raised a remarkable young lady," he said. Ethan smiled. "She's the one who keeps me going every day." Those simple words touched Isabella more deeply than she expected. She had spent years building companies and achieving success, yet she suddenly realized how much she admired the kind of quiet strength that couldn't be measured by money or fame. As the auction lights dimmed and the first item appeared on stage, Isabella glanced at Ethan with a thoughtful smile. She had approached him out of curiosity. Now, she found herself wondering if fate had brought him into her life for a reason. Neither of them knew that before the night was over, a shocking announcement would leave the entire ballroom speechless and change both of their futures forever.